Before we begin, a quiet favor. Like, share, and subscribe. It helps these forgotten stories find their way. Now, listen closely. I want to tell you about the apartment. Not just an apartment you know. The one I moved into last fall. It was perfect on paper, perfect for my budget. An old brownstone, 3rd floor, good light. The kind of place you feel like you've earned after years of shoebox studios. I saw it twice, signed a lease, moved my boxes in, started to think maybe, just maybe, things were finally looking up. It was a week or 2, maybe even 3, before I noticed the door. It wasn't hidden, not really, but it blended in. Just a low, unassuming wooden panel, about 2 feet high, built into the wall of what was supposed to be a small storage nook in the spare room. Like a miniature door for a very short, very old child. It had a simple, tarnished brass latch, the kind that clicks firmly into place. The landlord, a perpetually flustered woman named Mrs. Albright, never mentioned it. Not during the showing, not when I signed the papers, not when she handed over the keys. It was just there. A forgotten feature in an old building. Curiosity, I guess, that was my first mistake. Or maybe it was just the illusion of control, the idea that I owned this space, every inch of it. I tried the latch. It was stiff, grimy, but it gave way with a soft thunk. The door swung inward on rusty hinges, revealing black. Just pure, unadulterated darkness. Not a pantry, not a closet. This wasn't a finished space. It was a crawl space. A genuinely dark, unlit, dirt floor crawl space, smelling of damp earth and something else I couldn't quite place. A musty, closed-off smell that hinted at forgotten things. I didn't think much of it then. Old buildings have quirks. Maybe it was access to plumbing or wiring. I peered in with my phone flashlight, saw nothing but dusty beams and shadows, a few cobwebs. No sign of anything living, thankfully. I just closed it back up, latched it tight, and forgot about it. Mostly. The sound started subtly, the way these things always do. At first, I blamed the building. It was old, after all. Settling. The radiator pipes clanking. The wind whistling through cracks I hadn't found yet. Every night, after the city quieted down, after I turned off the living room light and settled into bed, I'd hear it. A faint scritch, scritch, scritch. It came from the spare room, from the wall that housed the crawl space door. I tried to ignore it. I really did. I put on podcasts, listened to music. But the scratching, it was persistent. And it started to bother me. It wasn't the frantic, skittering noise of mice. It was too soft, too deliberate. More like fingernails than claws. And there was a rhythm to it. That's when it hit me, one really late night when I couldn't sleep. The apartment was cold. The air heavy. I was lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, just breathing. And the scratching, it wasn't just a rhythm. It was my rhythm. A soft, steady scritch, 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 scritch that matched the inhale and exhale of my own lungs. My heart started to thump then. A slow, heavy beat against my ribs. I held my breath. The scratching stopped. Completely. Utter silence, so profound it was almost louder than the noise had been. I exhaled, slowly, carefully. A moment later, a soft scritch, scritch started again, perfectly timed to my breath. I inhaled. It stopped. Exhaled. It resumed. It was playing with me. Or, more accurately, observing me. Learning me. Panic, real, cold panic, started to bloom in my chest. I sat bolt upright in bed, straining my ears, eyes wide in the dark. I wanted to yell, to scream, but the sound was so intimate, so directly linked to me, that any sudden movement felt like it would shatter some fragile, terrifying barrier. I just lay there, frozen, listening to my own breathing reflected back to me, distorted and alien, from behind a hidden door no one had bothered to mention. I didn't sleep that night, or the next, or the one after that. My mind raced, clawing for explanations. A prank? A very elaborate, very disturbing prank? But who? The landlord? My previous landlords never got involved in anything beyond rent collection. A previous tenant? Why would they leave something like that behind? It felt too personal, too alive. I tried blocking the door. I dragged my heaviest armchair, an old, plush monstrosity, and wedged it tight against the crawlspace entrance. The scratching still came through. Muffled, yes, but still there. Still matching my breath. It was like the armchair was just a thin membrane, not a solid barrier. I taped it up, too. Duct tape, strips of it from top to bottom, across the seams, all around the latch. I must have used half a roll. I even pushed a couple of books against the bottom, just for good measure. I turned off the lights, crept to my bedroom, and waited. Silence. For a glorious, hopeful hour, there was nothing. I started to relax, my muscles slowly unclenching. Maybe that was it. Maybe it just needed a clearer signal that it wasn't welcome. But then, as I was drifting off, my breath finally evening out into the shallow rhythm of sleep, scritch scritch. It was softer now, of course, thanks to the tape and the armchair. But it was there. And it was still perfectly synchronized. It was listening. It was waiting. The fear evolved from jump scare terror to a deep, gnawing dread. It wasn't about what it was anymore, but about what it knew. It knew my breathing patterns. It knew when I was asleep, when I was awake. It was an invisible companion, a dark mirror. I started leaving the lights on. All of them. My electric bill skyrocketed, but I couldn't bring myself to plunge the apartment into darkness. The thought of that blackness behind the door, knowing it was there, just inches away, listening, it was unbearable. Even with the lights on, the scratching continued. It didn't care about light. It cared about me. One night, driven to desperation, I stood outside that door. The armchair was still there, the tape still plastered, a pathetic barrier. My hand was shaking so badly I could barely hold the phone, its flashlight beam trembling on the cheap wood. The scratching was soft, almost imperceptible over my own ragged breathing, but it was there, taunting me. I pressed my ear against the door, ignoring the dust and the faint splintered edge. It was closer now. Much closer than it had seemed from my bed. I could almost feel a faint vibration against my cheek. And the scent, that musty, earthy smell, it was stronger, mixed with something else. Something foul. Sweet and rotting. I took a deep, shuddering breath, trying to control my racing heart. Inhale. The scratching stopped. Exhale. It continued. I forced myself to take another breath, deeper this time, more strained. And the scratching mimicked it, a little rougher, a little longer. It was learning my subtleties. It was adapting. Then, a new sound. A soft, almost silent thump. Like something heavy, but soft, shifting its weight directly behind the door. And then, a tiny, almost imperceptible creak from the latch. Just a whisper of movement. It wasn't trying to get out, not yet. It was just letting me know it could. I scrambled away from the door, tripped over my own feet, and landed hard in the hallway. My breath was coming in ragged gasps now, and the scratching behind the door was a furious, rapid flutter, mimicking my panic. It was a cacophony of fear, my own terror amplified and thrown back at me. That was the breaking point. I packed a bag. Not all my stuff, just essentials. My laptop, my passport, a few changes of clothes. I didn't care about the lease, the deposit, the furniture. I just needed to get out. I called a friend, mumbling some excuse about a sudden family emergency, and drove straight to his place in a different borough. I told him I needed to crash for a while. I never told him why. I never went back to that apartment. I sent Mrs. Albright an email, vague and apologetic, saying I had to break the lease due to unforeseen circumstances. I told myself I'd get my things later, but I never did. I just left. Cut my losses. Sometimes I still hear it when the house gets quiet. I don't think it ever really left. Thanks for listening. More stories are coming soon. True or not, they always find someone willing to hear. Until next time, keep the lights on.